Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What's up, guys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another one. You're here live with Juby the Tubi, family above everything. We're gonna be bringing Zenray from Zenray Sports TV. Knicks got a win last night. Sloppy game, but they came away with a victory. Evan Fournier finally came out of his shell, and the Knicks won last night against the Houston Rockets, which was a terrible game. I don't even know what to say about that, but we're gonna bring Zenray in here. He's gonna get his take on what he thought of the game. Julius Randle had a bad shooting night. So did R.J. Barrett. Um, Kemba Walker was okay. Mitchell Robinson again got hurt, left the game. Who knows when he's returning? Nerlens Noel showed up just in time because damn, we needed him. But let's get him in here. Apologize for the short notice on the podcast and the quick one that's going to be today as I got some stuff going on. But I wanted to come on here real quick and talk to you guys. And let's get him in here.
Just talking about that Nick barely got out of the garden alive playing against the Houston Rockets. And I personally think they just played down to their opponent this evening or last night.
You damn right. Good morning, Zenray. How you doing, brother?
Good morning. Good morning. I listen. I'm not gonna get animated. We won the game. We still have a few things to work on. There were some bright spots. Burks obviously carried us at the end to win the game. Finally, Randall made some decisions toward the end. Passed the ball. He knew he was having a good shooting night. And I just don't understand a lot of this ISO play in the beginning. That first quarter was sloppy. I like what I saw from Fournier. I loved what Kemba hit some big shots. Quickly did his thing. Burks was the first player since I think Marbury and Latrell Sprewell to have 5 steals and scoring his 17 points in that fourth quarter.
Nice.
Was an amazing evening for him. And you said something in the last show that I kind of brushed off about having Burks maybe starting in that starting rotation. Listen, after I saw him performing like that, he was our best perimeter defensive and offensive player last night. And if it was for Alex Burks and if it was any other team, we probably would have lost the game last night. We played against inexperienced Houston Rocket team. I like a lot of the few players, the players they have on that team. That team, if they had the right coaching and the right people to organize this team, the Houston Rockets in the next 3 or 4 years are going to be a team to be reckoned with. But last night, the Knicks just should have taken them to the cleaners. They played down to their level. Once again, if it would have been any other team, the Knicks would have probably lost last night. But we take a win and we work on what we saw positive. We're talking positive tonight, up to this afternoon. At my end, at least. If you want to break it down differently, that's fine, because I'll probably agree with you as well.
No, I mean, listen. It was a game that like you said, we should have come in there and we should have won easily against this team. My brother was texting me last night, even before the game, and he said, if we lose this game, I'm done with the Knicks this season for a while. I'm not going to watch them. He was kind of disgusted, just like every Knicks fan is, with the way we've been playing lately. And even during the first and second quarter, he was texting me saying how we're having such a trouble with this team. And right. Granted, I understand they have young talent, but these are teams you're supposed to put away. When you're an established organization like the Knicks are, you're supposed to be putting them away. But luckily, Evan Fournier came out his shell a little bit last night. And luckily, Nerlens Noel came back into town. Alex Burke handled his business. And good old Emmanuel quickly. But I will still stress, Mr. Tom Thibodeau is still stuck in his ways. I don't know for how long he's going to continue to do that. But again, he took Obi Toppin out real quick. I'm glad he didn't put R.J. Barrett in that fourth quarter after Alex Burke was having a phenomenal game. So thankfully he didn't do that, because I was just waiting for him to take out Alex Burke, and I would have just shut off my TV out of disgust. But like you said, it's positive. We won. I just hope that we don't have the same energy coming into to Chicago tomorrow, because playing against the Bulls the way we played last night just won't cut it.
I totally agree, Joby. I think tonight is the real test. And I think personally, the last time we played the most solid game out of the whole year is when we went to Chicago and we beat Chicago and we almost blew that game toward the end, and they almost beat us. We walked out there out of Chicago winning by 1 point, but that was the last, probably the most consistent game that everybody was playing basically well. They were shooting the ball from the three very well. Last night they shot much better on the three. They shot 43%. But you should have. I mean, this team, you should have. There was no reason to have this team hanging around toward the end. We were down at 10 at one point. We were down by 7 in that fourth quarter. Burks came in and he did his thing. I like the fact that Julius Randle decided, look, let me give the ball to the man with the hot hand, because every time he gets the ball, he gets double teamed. He's always going to get double teamed, and sometimes triple teamed if he's hot. But he was starting to get double teamed. He passed the ball out. My concern is that we got out rebounded last night by the Rockets, and it was convincingly. There was 48 rebounds toward 37. And that's a reason why probably they got the secondhand chance points. They had 21 assists, the Houston Rockets. They had 5 steals. They had 8 block shots, and they had 22 turnovers. And I think that's the reason probably why the Knicks won the way they barely won last night. Because
another key number, mention it. You always say it every show. Free
throws.
That's why I think personally we won last night. Last night was a phenomenal 22 of 26 from the free throw line. So,
and Houston was 13 from 22 at a 59% clip. So they're missing free throws, and we're making our free throws. Made a difference last night games. And look, when you have and the thing that disturbs me the most out of the whole thing is that this team is the Houston Rockets. They go down to the paint. They don't care. They have 56 points in the paint. The Knicks only had 26. So the Knicks are settling for too many shots on the outside. And I guess when Barrett is not playing well and Rand's not playing well, that's the reason we don't have a lot of points in the paint. But our point guards need to do a better job in penetrating. Our game is basically, last night was the outside shot. And thank God our threes were going down. That first quarter, obviously, they wasn't doing well, but obviously they started heating up. Overall, from the field, they were 42%, and they were 43% from three. And the free throws, like you said, they won it there. But wow, when Knicks have 15 turnovers, that could have been a little bit better. And the Knicks have 14 points out of the 22 turnovers that Houston had. And Houston had 9 points out of Knicks' 14 turnovers. So that was to turn to the tide of the game as well. But our defense was lackadaisical once again. Open man, missing assignments. The same thing we've been seeing for the first 16 games. And that has to change, because if they play like this tonight against Chicago, the Chicago will blow out the Knicks tonight.
Yeah, you hit it right on the mark, which is crazy. Thank you for reminding me that tonight is actually the game. For some reason, I thought it was Monday night. So it gives me something to do tonight, which is great. But listen, Julius Randle hasn't been playing well, shooting wise. RJ Barrett either. Derrick Rose, for some reason, has been on a little mini slump, which I've noticed in the last couple of games. He's not playing like himself. I don't know if he has something with his leg or something. He doesn't feel. I don't think he has that burst movement that I normally see from him. And Mitchell Robinson again, man. This is starting to. Starting to question this, guys, because I know that when he's in there, he's a difference maker. The guy can play. The guy gets blocks. The guy gets rebounds. He's in there in the paint dunking on people. But it seems like he's always getting hurt. And luckily, like I said, we had Nerlens Noel last night to fill in that void. I know we always have Taj Gibson, thankfully, as well. But Nerlens Noel, man, thankfully we signed him, and he played last night. But because without him and Alex Burke last night, I don't see us winning that game. And luckily, we came out on top. We're still 5th in the East right now, believe it or not. The East has been crazy this season. All the top teams are at the bottom, and all the bottom teams are at the top. So we kind of have a flip of the side. But we got to start doing something, guys. I know that we can't get a little, like I said, we always say, oh, they give it time to gel, but we got to start doing something, because game by game, before you know it, it's going to be 30 games in, and if we're still playing defense the way we played last night, and players are still not knowing finding their rhythm and their spots, it's going to be a lot of problems when you got teams like Chicago coming in tonight. Well, us going to them tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some stats yesterday, and between Kemba and Julius Randle, they're like a minus 70
Mm.
in the team, and you can't have those numbers. And those are the two main guys you need. You need the man who stirred the drinks for us last year, and we need Kemba Walker, our point guard that we picked up because that's our need for the team, a general that can run this team. And like I was saying to you, if we had Chris Paul as that general, I think things would be a little differently. I think Chris Paul knows how to bring a unit together, and I don't think Kemba Walker has the talents that Chris Paul has, obviously. But what we have with Kemba, that I saw from last night, he made an attempt to play his game, and I was kind of very impressed with the way he went about his game last night. Kemba last night in 21 minutes of play was 3 for 7 from the field, 2 from 4 from the 3-point range. He had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and he had 1 turnover. It's a +5. And when I look at this, their starting rotation, remember we always talk how they're all minuses. Well, they improved that yesterday, but remember it's against the Houston Rockets, so they were a +2. Randall, Mitchell Robinson was a +5. He's the elastic man, keeps on falling down, and getting back up. But he's a warrior. I love my Robinson. And then you have Walker at a +5, and you have Evan Fournier at +7. The only person who was a minus was Barrett, and Barrett is having a tough time. The last 4 or 5 games, Barrett needs to. I mean, he had 11 points last night, and his shooting was really bad. 4 from 13 from the field, and 1 from 5 from 3. He had a key 3-pointer he shot in the first quarter that kind of kept the Knicks from being kind of. I mean, we were losing that first quarter. The Knicks were down in that first quarter. Houston had 21-13, so we're down by 7 that first quarter. But he made a big shot from that not being a 10-point lead. So look, I'm trying to give as much credit to Barrett as much as possible, but Barrett has to put better numbers, and I think it has to do a lot that we should think about putting Barrett in that second unit somehow. But Thibodeau's not going to put him. He's not going to put him in that second unit. I think he'll flourish in that second unit, Barrett, but or have some energy, or maybe switch to play like you said, a Burks or quickly in that first unit to have Barrett have that feed off the energy of someone, because right now that starting rotation we have no energy. Kemba's trying to do it. I saw him last night. He was trying to bring that energy for the team, but it should be coming from Randall as well. And I don't see that raw type of energy that the second unit gives that could ignite a player like Barrett. It's like stagnant. Barrett's like just going through the motions.
Yeah, you're right, man. And, it takes a certain kind of person to play in this, and you got to be really thick-skinned. I just wanted to bring up something that I saw, and I know you probably saw this too. Ian Bagley from SNY made a video yesterday or the day before, excuse me, that he's not gonna say who, but he said that there's an anonymous source that certain starting players are not happy with the way the offensive scheme is being ran in the Knicks organization right now. And I bring that up only because honestly, I think it's RJ Barrett who's having an issue with it. He just seems like either he tries to do too much or he wants to be the focal point, and then there's nights where he's off and Julius Randle's off. So it looks like there's always a tug and war. And we mentioned this before. We wish we could have Julius and RJ play phenomenally at the same exact time, but it seems like one is on, one is off always.
Well, I think you hit it, and I'm glad you brought that article up because I read it early this morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get what's trying to. Now that you bring this up, and we're talking about Barrett and Randall, it seems that Barrett and Randall cannot coexist together on the same team. It's almost, remember Westbrook and Durant at one time, they couldn't one wanted to be the star, and I think Barrett is trying to be that guy, and he thinks he knows he's that guy, and I think he is too. But when you have Thibodeau's giving all the confidence and all that to Julius Randle, because he's well deserved from the way he performed last year, I think it slights a little bit of what Barrett wants to do on his team. So I'm glad you brought that up. That can be a problem from why that first unit is not playing well. And you hit it right in the head. And I'm glad you brought that up because it really it really mentions what the problem is.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, we see it when that starting lineup. I mean, listen, maybe I mean you can't really bench R.J. Barrett or Julius Randle, and this is the problem that we're gonna have going into the season. They may not come out publicly and say they have a problem with each other, and they may not show it. But when one guy is 21, the other guy is 28. The 28-year-old just got a max contract, brought us to the promised land last year, and the other one is 21, averaged 17 last season, shot 40% from three, and is capable of being the face of this franchise. So we're gonna have some problems, man, and I'm glad I said this in the past before. I'm glad I don't get paid the big bucks. I'm not Leon Ross, and I'm not all these guys, because if this continues to happen, I don't see this team being together, those two especially, for too much longer. I see maybe, as sad as I'm gonna say it, like I really don't want them to trade RJ Barrett, because I think you on somebody like RJ Barrett, you keep him, you develop him, not only because he's younger, because he fits the criteria and he can attract future free agents in the market, like a Zion Williams, maybe when he loses a couple of pounds, because the guy's a little bit heavy right now. But if you trade him away and you stick with your guns with his Julius Randle, with no disrespect, because he's a phenomenal player, who are you really gonna attract? That's a big man all-star, because everybody's gonna sit there and say that's Julius's team. And with RJ Barrett, you can get somebody and be like, yo, that's RJ Barrett's team, but he's a young guy. They got the young squad. They're full of energy. I'm going there. But when you got somebody like Julius and you be like, yo, Julius brought him to the top, I'm going to go in there and be the second man, even though that's not the case. You should be the first man. So it's going to be a rough one, man. Like I said, I'm glad I'm not in the Knicks management office, because their days ahead of them are going to be a very difficult decision time to make.
Well, look at it this way. Look at the Ben Simmons, Joe Embiid situation. You can look at, we talk about Westbrook and Durant.
And Harden. All three of them were together,
Yeah,
remember?
yeah. It seemed like everybody knows they have a talent, and I think Barrett is that guy. You give that Barrett the key and let him run. I think he feels like he's not the guy. He's like the second, third option in that team, and he actually is. If you look at it, it bothers some players. See, but if you put an Obi Topping on that team, Obi Toppin doesn't need to be the man. See, Randall needs to be the man. Barrett seems like now he seems to be the man. That's why, look, the only person who can take care of the situation is Thibodeau. And if Thibodeau sees that this situation cannot be resolved for some reason, it's going to be handled internally. It's not going to happen what happened in Philly with Ben Simmons and Embiid. That was crazy the way that was handled there. But if it's somewhere, look, there's a lot of politics involved with Randall. You gave him this big contract we spoke about, Obi Topping, stuff like that. So when politics plays a lot to this, but the question is, if organization had a choice, if one of them came to you, it's either me or him, who would the organization pick? That's the question. So the politics on this, you gave Randall all this money. Barrett hasn't made this money yet. Are you willing to trade Barrett now to resolve this issue? Or are you rather say, no, Barrett is the man here, let's trade Randall? That's a good topic of discussion. And if anybody's hearing on your forum or Zen Ray Sports TV, if you had a choice to pick a person that should be the head of your franchise or run the franchise that's starting rotation, is it a Barrett or is it
a Randall? Yeah. That's a very, very good one. I think for the next show, I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more. Maybe we can, give some prime examples of teams in the past, where a big man was basically the star of the team or a guard, because the regime has changed in the NBA. There's not that many big men superstars of the teams anymore. You normally see either a point guard or you see a shooting guard. It's been like that for quite some time. The days of the Patrick Ewing All-Star or Shaquille O'Neal are kind of over. But just to touch up on it real quick, this is the same issue that happened with Shaq and Kobe. You know what I mean? So teams always have players to butt heads. It's up to the organization to kind of fix it, and the players themselves if they want it to work. But like I said, I think RJ Barrett, and I've said this in the past, I've said this even since we drafted him that same season. I said this kid reminds me of a young Dwayne Wade, and I see it. You know, because I remember when Dwayne Wade. I'm that old, guys. I go back with Dwayne Wade when he first got drafted. Could not shoot for his nothing. He was just a person who drove the ball and was streaky, just like R.J. Barrett. And look at the career that Dwayne Wade had. That's some. If you wanna give somebody that R.J. Barrett can resemble, I honestly think it's Dwayne Wade. Not now, because he's still young. He still needs to develop a lot of his game. But with the team, he needs to have that team behind him, the organization behind him to boost his confidence. And right now, I honestly think that he's lacking a lot of confidence in this city.
Well, I think he's lacking the confidence because Thibodeau is not giving him the confidence in being the player who he thinks he should be. It's like a bird that wants to fly off the nest, and the mother's saying, "No, you can stay a little longer. You need to prepare this. You have to prepare that." I think Barrett is saying, "Listen, my arsenal is good. I can go to my left. I can go to my right, a little better. Let me just go out there and show you what I can do." But when the team is being held up by Randall, who's stagnant by playing that ISO ball. That's something about Barrett. Barrett doesn't play that ISO ball. He has a different type of game, you know. Remember at one time when Melo was a small forward, shooting the shooting forward of the team, and he became the power forward of the team because he got stronger as he got older, and he performed well when he was under Wooden. But now you can see a player like Barrett later in his career becoming can either play the four, can play the three, can play the two,
Or the
you
one.
know, and probably play the one too. Exactly. Once he works on his handle a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the type of play you have in Barrett. If you look at Randall, what other spots can he play? Can he play the three? I don't know.
What's it?
He struck on that four. Maybe he can play the five for a little bit, but you have a bigger dimension and a younger guy who can run this team for the future. And I think this is something right now we're just touching on. I don't think it's nothing serious right now, but eventually, if you see this going down the road, especially Randall, he's not having a great year. I mean, Randall had a pretty good game last night. He had 16 points. He had 10 rebounds. He had 9 assists. That's a solid game for him. He was 6 from 8 from the free throw line, 2 from 6 from the 3-point, 4 for 15 from the field at 3 minutes. That's not bad for a player. But a player like that against the Houston Rockets, his numbers should have been better. Obviously, he wasn't shooting as good as he wanted to last night. But I don't know. That's another day for a discussion in terms of this. My pick will always be Barrett, and I know you're a Barrett guy too.
Yep.
Randall came from the outside. It's like when Shaq came in and got all the attention from the Lakers. Kobe didn't like it because a lot of plays were being drawn for Shaq, and Kobe was kind of the second option, and Kobe was not going to go for that. And that's why Kobe kind of had this kind of fight because Shaq want to be the man, and Kobe. Can two guys coexist together? If you have the right coach, you can,
It's very rare. And look what happened to Shaq. Shaq ended up going to Miami with Dwayne Wade, and that worked because Dwayne Wade was still a young guy up and coming. He wasn't established as a superstar yet. You know what I mean? And that's the key thing, guys. Look at Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. Fantastic players, could not coexist in the beginning of their careers together. It's gonna be interesting, guys. Zenray, I apologize, but I have a doctor's appointment, so I'm gonna cut myself short. Are we gonna do a podcast tomorrow morning, post game,
the Bulls game, and we'll go.
Or do you want to do it tonight? That's what I'm asking. It's up to you.
Yeah, whatever. We'll play by ear. It could either be tonight after the game, or we can do it tomorrow.
All right. Well, guys, like I said, it's going to be an interesting one tonight. I apologize that, like I said, my wife just reminded me a few minutes ago that I had a doctor's appointment. So with that being said, I want you guys to enjoy your Sunday, be time with your family, and hopefully the Knicks can come out and show their defensive efforts tonight, and they don't have Swiss cheese defense, to quote the Clyde Frazier. And remember, we said it here first, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure if any other podcast said it, but keep an eye on that R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle moving forward this season. And just remember this conversation, and I'm pretty sure me and my partner are going to touch up on that again in the future. But this is just Juby the Tubi signing off, guys. I appreciate it. Zenray, enjoy your day, brother. Say hi to the family for me. As always, guys, family above everything. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks.